Dagi Chini Pesokam Ki Jolam Panja Sange Juparsho Kodang Soki Chonam La Janju Bada Dani Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunian Gipe Tsoknam Ki Jolam Panja Sange Juparsho Ge Chodang Soki Chonam La Janju Bada Dani Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunian Gipe Tsoknam Ki Jolam Panja Sange Juparsho
Dayantang Gade
Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva.
Dayantang
Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva.
Dayantang
Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva.
All of the subject and Topjalana Machiba Sanje Kumbarum, but Chinija Tobacha. And the each of the end by Chanjo and Lapjana Sushi, the Novel Lawale Shimbo, similar to a toilet to Jumano, which got and got support the Juju in the Tesha to be sometimes.
So we set our motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment in order to be of benefit to all living beings. Knowing, of course, that in order to attain such a state, I must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. And to perfect those trainings, I need to have a good understanding of what they are about. And in order to gain that understanding, I need to be able to depend upon, have conviction in a good source. And it is with this in mind that today we have the perfect source in the form of the King of Mind training texts known as the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And so, as per usual, also, we set up the merit field with, in actual fact, our own root guru in the aspect of the skilled in means one and greatly compassionate one, Shakyamuni Buddha.
What did it? And a ranga tagodoya, rangi ceti, pomane, jebe, tsengamati, ngamacha, tomame van the tingy jabe, and Tijigamagin, Simjataja Mason, never you, some chat.
And that all around us are all kind mother sentient beings, beginning with the parents of this life, and then the parents of one's previous life, the one previous to that, the one previous to that, going back to the beginningless time and countless rebirths. That we have the understanding that all sentient beings are all around, present without exception.
And then Lama to be on what there, and because of the Sheji Chani, yes, and Yamshak in a Tuesday, who said Naba, Kula Chugu, Omega Doja Soa, Kula, says some Sunjani, the benches some with Kichi Tetabacha, and the Sanjay, the Yonsu Sovacha, what did it say?
And that the figure in the merit field has one face and two hands, is seated in the Vajra posture, with the right hand in the earth-touching mudra, the left hand in the meditative equipoise mudra, holding an alms bowl filled with nectar. This figure is representative of all of the qualities of enlightenment.
What the compassion and then the lama to be on body and chivo on cover temba armor to go home with Yigisum set up and then the Yigusum level part of Meva trainer comes from your Simja Tamjala po. The Daga Toma Meva Tiba Tamsin Yamja Tanjapa Janjita Nangso sometimes chat and then they number D and it because of the and the Kasoreta gave it Zawati and don't sung don't chip with Jite Yonso and Chebe. Hadami Chivete, not so bacane. And the church gave us said that Jabala Yachoa. Showa Piwala, then the church gave us said that Jabba the Dagishana to you let the water, they were tomba jet, they don't use to see Jesu, some such.
The figure is marked by 3 syllables, the at the crown, at the throat, and hung at the heart center. Light rays now emanate from the 3 syllables, going out into all the 3 realms of existence of sentient beings and affecting a thorough purification of all negativities and obscurations of these sentient beings that have been accumulated since beginningless time. Also taking into account all the deteriorations and downfalls related to vows and pledges that have been made. All these are also completely purified, and the virtue accruing from these actions is then offered to all the 3,000 realms Buddhas, and it is offered in a variety of forms of all the absolute excellence of all that can be offered from celestial beings or human beings. Upon this offering being offered, the Buddhas receive and are seen to enjoy the bliss which combines with voidness, and they abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
아니 되네 가서도 어디래잖아 아니 가서 된데 가서도 초지 자와서 제바게 고소도 연대 임발라 나바 라마 투병 나바 쩨네 랑게 되나 세데 라마 투병 보다 팁 팀에 니스마 교수 삼사자 니스마 교수 삼사자 아니 라야 라마 투병 투가 랑게 되나 세데 라마 투병 투가네 왜 세트네 옹게라나 젠타 아니 대시샤반에 때라고 뭐 온고도 샤소하다 말할 때는 원래 온고 출라바 저서 내벌래 아니 미기가 오게 되겠어 공부하셔.
And then the light rays emanate again from all the Buddhas, representative of all of their qualities of body, speech, and mind, and in the form of the wisdom beings, which come and dissolve into the central figure in our merit field. Following that, then the light rays emanate from the central figure in our merit field again, going out and inviting back the empowering deities from their natural abode. And then these offer the nectar of empowerment, some of which overflows at the crown of the central figure, spontaneously producing the figure of Akshobhya.
근데 다 랑게 되나 세트가 라마 투베 온보테 이 시바 무엇을 주나 바 추조 산제 탐제게는 다니수 임바데 이바다 뭐처 바샤 와드레샤
And so we really have this certainty and recognition of the Guru Buddha that we are visualizing in the merit field as having been fully consecrated, as it were, by the wisdom beings and the empowerment, and really have the certainty that the Guru Buddha is present there.
근데 라마 투베 온보디 아니 균나 세드 라마 투베 온보디 아니 거서데 투베 온보디 안다 무슨 군단이 저 삼을 마당 왔잖아 무슨 코나 산저 무슨 코나 어때죠 아니 때는 투베 나서 버튼에 아니 심제 감다 매바 나서 벌 때는 라라게 했다 고고라 밥에 나서 파 쩌네 아니 초주의 아니 가서데다 직대 감나 심제 김만바 미바자 미바 좋아잖아 아니 가셔 심제도 된줄 추르죠 투갈 팀 가셔 야 파트다 심제도 된 주베체도 파트 어디대잖아 배 가서라 시우지 가서다 당 지금 가서다 배 잘라치고 시우지 요반에 신제 고저 다들에서 파트 심제 김만바 미바 좋아잖아 야 좋아잖아 아야 데 주바디야 투갈 팀 양쪽을 봐도 파트 바이데 주베 로봇 나서 파트에 되는 거 어떤 이유가 지금 고마셔
So it's important when we visualize the Guru Manindra, the Guru Buddha in the merit field, that it's not anything like a statue, but a real live figure that we are visualizing, and that situation is extremely busy and vivid, that the Buddha is sending out emanations constantly, going out into all the different realms of the world, all the different realms of existence, to ripen the beings who have not yet been ripened, and to further bring on those who have been partially ripened. Then you will see also in that busy thoroughfare that there are Buddhas returning, dissolving into the central figure again. And so it's a very, very vibrant and busy situation of constantly going out and benefiting sentient beings and returning again.
거들이죠. 간제제 가서도 아니 심정 라나게 메바도 가시 년도게 주고 되다 년도게 넘어 봐도 메바 돼. 란제게 돼 란제게 넘어 봐도 돼. 잔주스면 넘어 봐도 메바 돼. 심정 맞죠. 가서도 김에 메바 좋아하잖아요. 좀 수도. 안 다가네 지금 이 당을 한 나서거든 감다. 자 롱티레 게 조단다 tumba 이 당을 한 나서 봐 되네. 아니 디 뒤자디에 감다 메바다 춤배 아니 하나 써봐 되네 엔텔라 기면 뭐 좋아져야 돼. 어떨래 저 주변에서 나서 봤는데. 근데 되네. 아니 심지어 또 두고 여봐지. 두고 여봐도 랑이 뭐 쳐봤잖아. 아니 되게 랑을 넣어 나와 차트 봤잖아. 어떨래 저.
And so this is a very fluid situation where that also those that are being served by these infinite emanations of the central figure are those from the practicing on the Shravaka vehicle, whether practicing on the solitary realizer vehicle, or of course on the Bodhisattva vehicle as well. That they are all getting what they need according to the disposition of each individual practitioner. And similarly, that the meditational deities are sent forth, complete with the channels, winds, and drops, and they are appearing to those who have a connection or have an affinity with that particular deity to, again, facilitate their practice and bring them on to ripen them more and more and more.
Right, 어디를 다 간제 가시 제레스게 넘버를 편버 주고는 제레스게 넘버 파트 잠배양 그 넘버를 잠배양 거 봐. 차나도지 차나주죠. 다 간제 아니 다간에 지금 가서도 외바면은 외바비게 넘버 파트. 야 기모메 뭐 좋아지 야 소도. 어디를 그거 뜻이 소어디 아니 라마 투베 공부 라마 투베 공부 이마데 되네 파트 된 거지. 엔데를 두고 주대 된 거지. 어디를 공부하시네.
And so that's it's kind of is demonstrating there this kind of sending out and returning of, for example, emanations of Chenrezig, Avalokiteshvara, for those who require that aspect of the enlightenment of Manjushri, for those who require that aspect of Vajrapani and so on, who for those who require that particular aspect. So that people are getting exactly what they need in the form in which they need it. And then these are returning to dissolve into the central figure.
어디는 공부시에 개점 뭐 어디는 공부시에 어디는 아니 그가서 탐해외 넘버를 탐해외 넘버 되네요. 디 기메 멤버 좋아하잖아요. 조주시 조뒤에. 어다 간자 라는 게 감다 매발 까비 펜쳐가 있는 펜토와데 봐. 근데 아니 뒤에 감다 동거 봐 되잖아요. 아니 되네. 기메 멤버 좋아하잖아요. 조뒤에. 어디는 저는 다 라마 투베 온보데 뭐여라 되네 임바데 다 소소 뭐 쳐봤잖아요. 로라 차봤잖아요.
And so that every being is, according to their own individual personalities and dispositions and karmic propensities, etc., are getting the form of the deity, the form of the Buddha that they need. So for ordinary beings, of course, ordinary people get somebody in ordinary aspect to deliver the particular instruction or wisdom that they need at that time. So this is something that's happening in a very vibrant and constant way in the merit field that we are visualizing.
What is that? That and also 감담 민다베게 출루라 릭민다 뭐 용도도 앞에는 익수 요래 힌두 요래 카지 요래 다 가지 출루 네가 돼야 내 감담 매바 나봐 야 나마 두번 파트네 디 감도 tum마지 파트잖아 야 디 뒤자 디 감도 tum마 편발되네 야 수도 용어 되는 거로 다 가지 강제 샘제게 되라 가리 팽고 여봐 있네 아니 펴봐도 봐 쬐잖아. 너 소중한 좀 그러.
And so there's no discrimination really between religions in this aspect as well, because for those who are of following a Christian tradition or a Muslim tradition or a Hindu tradition, also will be benefited to the extent that they can be, in whatever way they can be benefited by these emanations of the Buddha.
어디를 공부하셔? 어디 자체 보는 공부하셔. 샘정가 페바 두에서 근데 아니 저 가서데 캄다 투마 두고 되베 저거 두베 넘바데 베다 예병만에 땅가라도 로이로 마신 거 저러 왔다. 다
And
예병만에.
so it's a really a case of taking in the concept of benefiting all sentient beings, and that it is such a vast and complex series of constant emanations and returnings that it's almost impossible for us to conceive of that. But this is what happens to when one attains enlightenment. This is the spontaneous, effortless result of enlightenment.
근데 용어에 대한 샘정도 투게 람라람 아니 뭐가 저 바상게 봐 인사 아니 샘정의 대응체도 줍대 봐 인사 안데서 용어여 어디죠.
And so this is the means, this is what the resultant force, really, of generating that mind of enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings, proceeding on the path purely for the benefit of sentient beings, and then demonstrating a full and complete enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings. This is what it looks like to fulfill the purpose of sentient beings.
어디를 통하는데 아니 산재가 유대 통해 아니 들라 당에 대봐 이치기 대봐 문도게 대봐 어디를 조금 봐셔.
And from that appreciation of such quality that arises pure faith, a manifest faith, and the faith of conviction.
어디를 네 랑게 타고 돼 막그 진짜 되게 돼야 아니 대화 대장 대회포 미드바 동네에다 동네 찌기 젤라 찌기 나는 용건데 안 되네 그 동네 나와라 동네 나와달라 미세베 장바코 어다 동네 나와다 미세베 닝지체 아니 동네 대 되네 아니 대화도 되는 장바코 다다 동네다 대바다 대화다 동네들 대화다 대바다 예 지금 학생고 다 학생고는 제마도 봤어본다 다 근데 제도가 누바데 술라데서는 샘제되더 투게 람라라 뭐바도 바산제 고마 콘토나 아니 감도 메바 삼바 발냐 지다와시도 경고 요바 인사 아니 지다와서 경배도는 뚝뚝도 다 공고 공바지 마도 타면도 삼사는 공바자
And so when we bring our attention to focus on all the kind mother sentient beings all around, we can see that they want suffering so badly, but they are bereft of that suffering. They want to avoid suffering so badly, but they are inundated by sufferings one after the other. So we develop these minds of really wanting to separate them from that suffering because we find it unbearable that they should suffer. And this gives the concept of compassion, and then the concept of wanting to place them in happiness, that they would meet with happiness, is the concept of love. And to generate these mind states, we kind of are inspired to really take personal responsibility then to bring this about, to be the ones to be the one who actually does this for all sentient beings, only to get the shock of reality that we aren't capable at the present of doing so. But that what state of mind is, as we have just found out, as we just have been demonstrated, the mind of enlightenment, to the one who, for the sake of sentient beings, generated the mind of enlightenment for all sentient beings, trained on the path and perfected the path, and for the benefit of all sentient beings, manifested full and complete enlightenment. The state of enlightenment itself is what I must attain in order to really bring this happiness to all sentient beings and to remove all this suffering. Because from that point of view, I have the perfect understanding of the individual dispositions and personalities and so on that that can then gain the perfect direction in what to do to remove all that suffering. And so I really must. It's kind of like really gaining extra conviction that this is something that can't wait. I must attain the state of enlightenment in order to be able to benefit all sentient beings.
다들 인자 심정의 된 주변 체도 아니 산jel라 가서 다외 때와 이지게 때와 모두게 잡아 고고도 와. 다 심정의 된 주변 체도 인제 세도 잠바 세도 되네. 인제도 잠바 세도 되는데 아니 니 대화대 된두게 인제 가서 동해 된두게 인제도 대화 된두게 잠바 슉슉 용데 소소그 다 마주가 탑매게 된데게 인제 제 토보 된데게 잠바 제 토보실려는데 아니 학생들이 깨운 거로 왔다. 학생들 깨운 건데 다 소소 제가 저도 제마도 봐 세버인데 다 제투 근데 전에 제투고도서는 다 제주시 지기로 왔다. 제주시 제원도 아니 가린 얘기를 해서 근데 제투고도 산재 이마제 산재 이마제 근데 산재가 연대 통고도 와. 되게 뭐저 미국 정당 주변에서 연대다 감다 몇번 발은 지다와서도 걔는 샘제 감다 좀 봐. 아니 평바 줍두고 지어도 오다 되게 디용에 대야 아니 투게 람라라 뭐바 줘봐 나랑도 된다 투게 나랑도 된다 뭐 람라라 나랑도 된다 뭐바 줘봐 산제바 인자 오다디 유텐데제 사는데 아니 대고 산제에서 토바인다 들리서 아니 다음에 대봐 오다 텐데도 주대 비다고 시우지도 제보도 비다고 시우도 당하게 딜라 때는 다 편바 두투에 대 이지 용거 요라 다 주텐데 산데 제보 텐데 좀 이지 줘도 딱 뭐도 어다 된대저 샘저가 저는 나나야 된대 중나서 뭐도게 대봐서 다도 다음에 대와 이지게 대봐 뭐도게 대봐서 다 샘자라면 잠바도 이제 새도 되는 것도 와 딜라 때는 못 좋은 것도 와
So from the beginning, we have this sense of this, we need to have this faith in the whole process. That's when we view sentient beings in order to really bring a help for them, to really fulfill the purpose of sentient beings. I begin with this pure faith, manifest faith, and the faith of a conviction in what? In the qualities of enlightenment, in the qualities of a Buddha. So when we're talking about developing the compassion that wants to separate sentient beings from their suffering, when we're talking about the love that wants to place all sentient beings in happiness, this has to be a very powerful mind state. We really are convinced that this is not only the right thing to do, but there is a possibility of doing so. So it's kind of like the very highest sense of compassion, the very highest sense of love. And that this forms then this special intention where we actually start to feel the possibility and the responsibility personally to actually bring this about. It's something that we want to do, but also we see it the right thing to do. We can do it, only to realize how limited we are in our capacity at the moment. But that when we really see that the state of enlightenment is the position from which we can really fulfill these goals that we feel and we cherish so deeply, and that then brings a new appreciation for the qualities of enlightenment itself. That this state of mind is completely focused on benefiting all sentient beings and the way in which sentient beings require that benefit now. And so it's kind of like got this quintessential understanding of the individual dispositions and what is needed in the moment. And so it's clear that this is the state I must attain. If I'm serious, if I have this special intention and I want to bring it to fulfillment, this is what I can do. And so it's a case of really being able to fulfill the needs of all the varied sentient beings precisely. And so again, this brings forth this need for a faith that is pure, that is willing to enter into this. The faith of conviction, once we see the qualities of enlightenment and we know how the law of cause and effect works, that we can be convinced and have that conviction that we can do it. And then the faith, the manifest faith, that we can actually see ourselves as fully enlightened. We in the process of doing just that, just fulfilling our special intention. And so it's very, very important that we gain some kind of really strong sense of ownership and belonging to this kind of motivation.
아니 된대게 대바다 김생 통해 대바래 몽대 말에 김생 통해 되네 아니 그러와 대야 나기 붙여다 나 뒤지 주나 많이 저 생게 동네 맞서 메서봐 대야 저거 내가 그 동네 자 말에 답에 동네게 자와 단지 머리가다 란첸진이 그 상황도 좋아들 메서봐 챘네 난 된대게 메서봐 용서게 아니 유대 다스데 탐제 차대어데 rồi anh chỉ cái mà ra chỉ cái này cái全部是个chỉ cái阿点这样嗯电脑去这个有的是吧他没得用到项目个军队项目个你话一打军队项目个吧这那只点那边老东厂嘛不得个那好了说吧老对面好的送个吧的送面好了说吧等这个电子厂呀电脑去这个有的然真正的但是没里边想法的就把你把人走我他等这就那边甚至马路罢了甚至지자 말로 봐라 딱 간제 이제 잡도가 정도도 와 이제 잡도 근데 이제 잡도가 될라 때네 아니 잠바 될라 때네 학삼 될라 때네 아니 다 지가 주도 제마도도 아니 제투에 니바데 제조도 아니 산제가 연대도 통네 산제가 연대도 통한데 아니 가서도 다 뭐되게 대바디 깨고도 나야 산제 동바마도 타마도 두바 찌기 삼사가 뭐되게 대바디 용도도 와 대야 다외다와 이지게 대바니라 되는 용도도 와 대야 경쟁 통하라 되는 용도도 와다 되게도 공부하고 시잖아 아니 오늘 전에 산제 시대 즉 가서래 다 같이 라마 매봐 아니 다외다 이지다 뭐도 대바 깨투와치 소토에다 다 시우지 개침버려 이 중앙이나 아니 상계 직전의 전바다 장을 거쳐 버려.
So when we're discussing faith in this way, the triple faith of pure faith, manifest faith, and the faith of conviction, it's important to understand that there is nothing, kind of no blind faith being implied here, that there is reasoning behind all the thinking behind this triple faith. And so it's the thinking behind it is based on others suffering, that others are suffering, that I must do something about this. And so we understand the difficulties, and that all sentient beings are really burdened by the self-cherishing attitude and the grasping at a self-entity, that ignorance of grasping at a self-entity. And this is not confined to the human realm and the people that we know. But we don't need to talk about the animal realm or the hungry spirit realm or the hell realms, but it's there, whether we're talking about the celestial beings in the desire realm or the asura beings, or even those in the higher realms of form and formless realms, still dominated by those twin aspects of self-cherishing and the ignorance of grasping at the true existence of a self. And so this is the level at which we focus. There is nobody left out, that all these sentient beings are suffering because of this. It's inevitable that they will meet with suffering. Therefore, something must be done. I will be the one to do it. And that here, it's that when we have that, we can really start to, think about and to cultivate a compassion that takes all of that in, a love that takes all of that in. And so we kind of like when we talk about removing the suffering of all sentient beings because we find it unbearable. That is the seed from which we can grow this vast sense of compassion, and that the wish to wanting to place them into every happiness. That begins the seed to cultivate this level of love. And that then we see, that naturally brings forth, isn't it, a beautiful motivation of I will be the one to do this, the special intention. And then we can say, okay, that's all very well, but being realistic, okay? But when I then recognize the qualities of enlightenment, to see what a Buddha's qualities are, it starts to really, make the whole venture a great deal more realistic for me. And I see that I can make manifest all of this aspiration that I have in my motivation, and to actually attain that state of enlightenment. Now, there is that reasoning behind it, because there are a logical series of causes that lead to this kind of effect. And so when we talk about then that faith, that pure faith, to kind of really get us started, the faith of conviction based on the information that we are accruing and the reasoning that we can have that depend upon, that feeds that manifest faith to say that, yes, I can do this. I can become an enlightened being. I can be the one who will actually do this. And so this is extremely important to really, to as much as we can, to feed this sense of faith in our path.
닝제 동행 나좀에 수배 닝제 아니 가서데 단다데 아니 데데 장바 데날 학습 되는 심자다 산제 보고 녀마도 마도 탐도 좀 지기 스러고 공부하지 데데게 예배 그서데 로데 아니 그서데 이게 아질라 쪽 아용수 좋아래 아니 다외 진과 냐가 와체 랑이 닝가 가도 내소 삼삼체 닝가 요수 내소 삼삼체 어디라체
And so then this focusing on all sentient beings and powerful, special intention to remove their suffering, their compassion, and to place them into every happiness, their love, that conviction in that process to attaining the state of enlightenment in order to pull this off brings forth the syllable A, which transforms into the moon disc, mandala disc at our heart center.
어디는 공부시 어디는 어디 야고 시부 줘서 된대게 가서데 다외 김고 다 냐강와데 엔베 장주 쌤그 천대 다외 김고 냐가 된 남을 로그메 산도가다 산제 공부 마도 봐도 랑게 닝구서 내서 삼자시 어디는 공부시
And being really pleased at this point that you have, really established this mind of enlightenment at your very core, at the very heart center, and make a pledge to yourself that you will never forsake this mind until you attain the state of enlightenment.
어디 심제 탐제도 산제 공부 두개 두개 나디 아니 가봐도 째줘데 나디 게 루이데르데 셈데르데 델레시방 나디고스 봐 째줘데 루야 루게 차샤르르 제도 나서데 니기무도 셈야 셈 나지기 계징나지 야와체도 째바이네 니기무도 아니 셈 코랑게 차샤바네 셈 코랑에 니기무도 알리 나파샤나 셈 코랑에 니기무도 파르스 야와체도 셈스게도 주고주사 코랑미도 아니 류 코랑이야 다류 코랑 나 멤버 마세 나 류게 때도 나니 좀 해봐서 류 코랑이야 파스 저는 류싱데 니에면도 니에면도 다 아니 들레 뭐서 왔다 많이 봤다 가란 갈 셈샤 다 된대게 가자 가섬 예배 로데 아니 가서데 이게 홍질을 교수 선수죠 홍 용수 줘발래 딱간자 도제가 뭐 잼가 같이 홍게 참바요가지 교네 되게 네가 교수 따와 냐가와 뒤때도 발랑다고 그, 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 그,
so then we move on to the I. This, when we talk about I will attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all living beings, that sense of self, that sense of me, where is that to be found? And that we examine internally this process of analysis, looking into the body, looking into the different parts of the body, looking into the mind, looking into the parts of the mind, or any third possibility. And so we want to really do this very thoroughly to try to ascertain what mode of existence has this self that has these ambitions. And so when you look into the mind, for example, then you're looking into, for example, past and future moments of mind. Is there something that can be pointed to that would equate to that sense of self that I have? And you don't find it. Even in the mind itself, in the moment itself, you don't find that sense of self. And then the body again, looking through the body, the different parts of the body to see where is that sense of self that I can point to. Again, it's you arrive at the end of analysis of not finding, and you simply place your single pointed focus on the mere not finding. That's called the mere negation of the object of negation. So you just place your mind focused on that point, and from that arises the syllable hung, a representative of that wisdom. And that transforms into a white Vajra that stands upright on the moon disk at our heart center.
다 간제 가서 nga koran 류 때다 생고다 많이 맞아 다사가 유 류셈 대양 류셈 코란양 류다 셈 바세주도 니금도 다데 된데서 다에 나데 맞아 다사가 유 류다 셈 대양 니금도 다 된데 다 간제 오다 여당데 매워 말이야 여바데 녀에 두고 여다 여바디 녀에도 나기부도 못도서 녀게 나 여바지 못주고도 이내 나 여당데 갈래시 여당서 나 여당데 다 유대는 맞줘봐 여당데 다 유대는 맞줘봐다 세버려 니기면도 다 유대는 맞줘 나 여당데 그래서 나 때내 중간 삼는데도 딱 봐서 딱 봐서 로다 로다 르셈 촉발라 딱 봐서 삼는데도
And so here then, when we talk about this self that we are looking at, we're analyzing for, we don't find it within the body or the parts of the body, the mind, the parts of the mind, but neither is it can be found within that combination of body, mind, that it is that which is, merely imputed, when we look into it, does that mean then that the self is something which is non-existent? No, it does not. It does exist. What we have to establish is the mode of existence of that self or that I, but it does not exist in the way that it appears. It does exist because we have an experience of I am happy, I am sad. Right? And that is the case of how it exists is very important, that it does not exist objectively. It cannot have any objective existence. Why? Because it arises in dependence. It is a dependent arising. It is that which is merely imputed, merely labeled as a self. That's the only mode of existence that it has. Merely imputed or merely designated.
그랬다. 나 라운드 마토가 임바도 티 good news래. 나 라운드 마토가 나 때네 중간에도 조사요 말. 나 라운드 마토가 매워 말해. 나 라운드 마토가 나 때네 나 때네 중간 외매도 쳐버려. 다 내조 로래 나 라와도 마도와이나 나 때내 중화데 내조 로래 나 때내 중화이나 나 라와게 마도와 내조 로래 다 라와게 두바이나 아니 주와 만도와데 내조 로래 다 라와 두나 주와테 요마래 pero nga tanda semje ina ana semje ne ani diba dana sanje ge cha yo mar nga rawa ge dubna nga rawa do ma to yin za tanda semje ina ya ani je kowe za wa danzi mari ba yin ba ngo thone ti ni bo dame to ba shara ko ani de de janju ge sem ko na sanje ko ma to yo ba cha de kure kaso nga rawa do ma to yin za nga tene junga yin de nga sanje ko ma dub to yo go yo re 디 내조 로 산제가 소와 마티 내조 로래 라와도 두바이나 좋았다야 마티 내조 로래 디 맞아 뭐 좀 어떻게 고요래 좀 제가 돈에 직벨람네
So the means of that self being something which is not objectively existence, not self-powered, is good news. It's good news because it actually creates possibility. It's a natural law. It's important to understand this is not something invented by the Buddha. It is a natural law that the idea of phenomena arising independence is the way phenomena actually exist. That if phenomena arose objectively or self-powered phenomena, then change would not be possible. The idea of moving from being a normal sentient being as we are to the state of enlightenment would be impossible because no change is possible, no transformation is possible. And we can see that such a state of existence is not a part of our experience. Therefore, this is a mistaken attitude, that the idea that phenomena actually arise in dependence is absolutely crucial news, perfectly brilliant news, because we can be born as we are into cyclic existence, and then we can be prone to all the karma and mental afflictions, but we can then start to purify, start to accumulate, and to understand that we can develop the wisdom realizing selflessness. We can combine that with the mind of enlightenment and proceed along the path and to attain the result of enlightenment. It makes all that stuff possible.
어디래 다 근데 임바 인자 오다 근데 인자 근데 게 랑이 닝가라다 다도 가서 다도 제 쟁아 봐다 랑이 닝가라 그 장주 생계 춘대 안 그래서 다와냐 강화되다 장주 그래서 돈이 도배 시라 그 춘대 어디 도저가 뭐 쟁아 봐 홍게 참바 요견됐다 남야 로그면 삼다 다디 아니 다 가져다 얘기다 저 가서다 심제 탐제 그것도 된도 산제 고만 두에게 딱 얘기 마사 캐피탈 얘기도 마사 티 삼사티 니 남야 로그면 산제 고만 마도 봐도 다 다다다 쩌마 춘제래 디디 아니 곰네 뷰 다다다다네 쩌마 뭐이베 뭐죠 되네 안베 지다다 치네 아니 다 산제 그 투주게 아니 다 도저 쟁가 봐질 유튜브 지기 삼사 공부시
And so at our heart center, then we have the white moon disk that is representative of that syllable, which in turn represents the mind of enlightenment. On top of that moon disk, we have the 5-pronged white upright Vajra, which comes from the syllable hung, which represents the wisdom realizing selflessness or emptiness. And so we are certain, that this is the representation of these two minds, the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom of emptiness, and that realizing emptiness. And we will not forsake these minds until up and including to the state of enlightenment. That this is the kind of capital I have, This is the foundation, the base I have that is dedicated to the welfare of sentient beings. I know that it's operating, I'm operating here at an artificial level, of course, but I am going to meditate. I'm going to habituate as much as I possibly can in every available moment to this particular reality so that I can make it an unartificial reality as quickly as possible.
다 산재의 송랍 달와 다 가져 택바 최종하다 제와 탐재기 안 탐재기다 지가서데 탐재기다 님부 잡어데 오다 되래 잠니 장조선다 동니도베 셔럽니르도 와 루와 루와 답에 년도 택배 갑라 장조가 샘다 송고 못도데 년종 송고도 와 년종데 당보 랑코와 나tul 미세바 깨베 닝제데 어가 미세바 깨바데 년종제 디카샤라 번에 심제시 코에 동을 맞서 가서 미세베 아니 닝지 깨바 가서다 미세베다 코에 동을 미세바데 닝제스기도 와 로타 마사데라 당보 랑코에 동을 나tul 미세베 게 년종 깨네 아니 디 심제시라 카본데 아니 닝제 차기도 와 와다데 다데네 인바 인자 다들 잠니제 장주가 쓴다 동리 또베 셔라니데 상계의 추기 닝부차대도와
So when we're talking about these two mind states of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom of selflessness, we are talking about the very essence and the summation of all the teachings of the Buddha. This is important. And that when this is in terms of the Mahayana vehicle from the Shravaka point of view, they don't have that level of compassion. For them, the emphasis is on renunciation. Because when they meditate on suffering, it's in relation to themselves. And this brings forth a sense of wanting, to be rid of this, to renounce this level of suffering. But when that mind is turned facing all other sentient beings, that renunciation becomes compassion, because we are taking on board the suffering of all sentient beings. And therefore, this is the mind state of compassion.
근데 인자 산재의 소라 뒤제 감다 메와 발안여와 지다와 시도 다 폐해지도 최고 풍부 타여바 송여데 타여바 대다 탐재의 자와디 가르쳐서는 잠니지 장주서 동리도 베셔럽니 차되기도 와
And so when we talk about the means by which all sentient beings, with all their varieties of suffering, all their variety of dispositions and personalities and so on, and a whole library or a whole full extent of all the Buddha's teachings, they come down to the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing selflessness. This is the essence that can be then developed to perfection in order to fulfill the purpose of all sentient beings.
네, 감다 메와 만다와네 상하게 아니 왜 자주 내주죠 라메 줄라서 타여봐 연구 요다 디가 되게 간자 잠니제 장주서 동리도베시네 제도 도에서도 쓰고도 와 맞아 데르도 잠니 장주가 셈다 동리도베 시랍니데 안베 니바 제도 도에서도 아니 파이 남바미도 뭐부터네 안베 디 제도 도에 보면 쓰고도 와 그래서 자와디 잠니 장주 동리도베 시랍니데도 와
And so when we talk about tantric teachings and the different sets of tantras and so on, and all the wonderful elements of tantra, that these are actually upheld by and powered by the extent to which we have the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing selflessness. They still create the foundation for all of tantra.
어디다 된데 이번에서 그러와다 가서 말게 기후 담바저 숨그러와다 가서 상하게 누바데 아니 도이 가진데 도면은 홍홍 패배레스 그러와 홍홍 패배레스 다 도지도 다장 연중 장샘 양답에 따와 그르바데게 그러다 가저 반제 반에 도스도 반에 시진거 도데를 못chen 그러와 반에 개동바 아니 가서데 개동바다 다 개동바다 다가는 생겨 저 봄다 니티 라소바디게 돼 시진거 흉으로 와 파진거 흉으로 와다 오더 저와 다 간제 저 다다데 도쇼고 흉으로 와 되게 돼 배나 뭐서 동니 때 흉내 동 람때네 가서 데 탑이 차디게 땡기도와 다 되게 약보지 마시 되게 냠내 약보지 제마도나 아니 nga 지긴 있으네 nga 데 홍홍 패레마도 누가 요 말을 쓴 거야 누가 용사도 도이 가지랬어 도서다 저 가진 게 흉티도 가지래 쓴 거 여러봐 저다 마 뒤에는 잠이 장주 생고 냠내 지다다 동리 도베 셔가 냠내 지다 디 누바한테는 용구도 쓴 거도 어디데 참
As the holy beings of the past have said, that the power of Tantra comes from sutra, and that he said otherwise all Tantra is hung hung pei pei, and that so it's really saying that if you don't have this foundation, you're just paying lip service to a Tantra. So it's saying all of the content of the the perfection vehicle, for example, looking into the 8,000 shlokas of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, or the 100,000 shlokas of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. So all of this content is the sutra element of the path. And if you don't have it, if you don't have that foundation, and then you jump into Tantra, you're kidding yourself. All you're doing is hong hong pei pei, which is basically nothing. And so you have to understand that the foundation of Tantra, the power behind Tantra, comes from Sutra.
对，我的嘞，大概就是这个，告诉的多少个年龄也不马街了，那上岸的，从这切去了之后，人家得要了吧，是吧？捐了之后，人家得要了吧，人家没办法了吧？他多少个年龄对他不要吧？这，你看这上岸个年龄，讲那他对他不修正过要了吧？多少个年龄是他没办法呢？这具是没办法，上岸年龄阶段呀，落过了之后，弄去了之后，人家得要吧的。 여바르와 다 연구요래 다 근데 이번에서 그 개침벌에도
Of course, too, if one jumps into Tantra without a foundation of Sutra, there is every possibility that you will make a dangerous mistake, and you will head the wrong way. And if you are missing that element of Sutra, then you really are, in a way, heading blind into Tantra, and that is never a good way to go.
다 다른 거 가발했어. 오래 다 간제 잠니제 장주고 쌤다. 오다 돈이 되면서 뒤 남에 르그면서 오다 디 검시뱅안에 오다 어디를 거버지 아니 쌤젤다. 미베 니제 아니 라바 투베고 볼라 아니 대바 타에 되지다 모두 대바 텐데 증간에 아니 오다 시카시 슈에자 오다는 막 오다는 오다는 모두 잠도 가발했다.
And so we are then really reasserting the absolutely quintessential importance of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. We are dedicating ourselves to that. We're not going to forsake these minds. We have the mind of fate focused on the Guru Manindra in the merit field, and we have a mind of compassion focusing on all the sentient beings all around us. And as we again revisit the text, Shoktrangana Niga Shipchushanga Shiba Soso Dokbe Kebalani.
Ola Sudan 가서 잠들은 다시 15소소 도배 개발을 니제 룰라 차베야사 로다 소소 야와치는 송거다 룰라 차베야사 님볼라 소소 도바다 아니서 가사다 자셰라 차베 님볼라 소소 도바시 니제 당보다 룰라 차베 님볼라 가사 님볼라사 님보 소소 도바텔라 자왈레사 独这送呢，现大家日光大当大家的级别区间大多的那些可能切不就，大家历年电力讲感觉这我大讲中多年做没做了，但大部分就往下。
So we had arrived at a fourth outline, which was to look at particular special thoughts regarding antidotes. And the first of these, this has two subheadings. The first is a particular thought regarding the antidote to attachment to the body, and a second, a particular thought regarding an antidote to attachment to the friends and loved ones. And so the first two verses here will relate to that first point, that is the thought on the antidote to attachment to the body. This is dealt with in verses 29 and 30. Having departed to the cemeteries, when shall I come to understand that this body of mine and the skeletons of others are equal in being subject to decay? Then, because of its odor, not even the foxes will come close to this body of mine, for this is what will become of it.
뭐래 딱 간제 디스고 열받다 간제 나라도 지금 가서래 아니 지금 지금 가서대 아니 최주베 돌아 아니 배주 다마도 깔래 자마도 왔지 아니 랑게 류 아니 배 동에 친구제야 몇수 봐 그렇 지나도 동에 쓰게 몇수 봐래 잡부르대 이네 최주베 쳐도 지금 깔래래 잡벨라야 아니 배 류당 제마도 봤지네 아니 류라 착네 대바이나 류게 닝부들 레마도 봐이나 아니 그 남신나 다 류데 소소다 아니 카테주가 되게 팬도 매바 차주고 레스고 열받다 안 디디다 쳐서 류데델레 바데는 팬모도 같이 차고도 왔어 안데 닝불렌도 같이 그래 손에 돈다 도와지서라 아니 덴데 저 시부에 차데도 아니 촘촘 파치네 지 미종사다보다 두저다 덴델라 치네 로통사 덴델 치바이나 아니 그 소소야다 소소양 단다 송보전 대도 니에 루스 개침부 지가 요데 남신나 정저도 아니 봐 디마카도야 촐라도야 다 매바 차도야 진바지 이바인데 어다데도 지바 이바지 pendant 두저데 wal치는 미로데서 니마 송보 이베가 니에 풍보 니에 루스 개침부 시부 지가 레데 이네 되는 정사도 그 다보코나 자게 요 말이 아니 그 르다젠데 샤야레도 와 와다 다보스네 다가 저 소수가 다보자에도 와 와다 나야 뒤 남자들이 차그리 했으면 하고 또 받지지 제도에 되게 좀 들려다 룰에 착선 중앙에는 룰이 인구들 렌투고를 숨고 요 또 다들 와다
So here it's talking specifically about the attitudes that we need to overcome with regard to the body. So here, we can judge for ourselves how we are, really enthralled to the needs of the body on the one hand. The other is that, we can't really put up with very much before we become uncomfortable, and we make a little bit of effort, a very watery sort of effort, because otherwise it'll be too hard on me, and the body will start to pain, etc., etc. And this is the attachment. This is sort of like talking about attachment to the body, and that we need to drop this attachment to kind of change that attachment for taking the very essence out of this body, taking the very essence out of this life. And so it's very, very important that we have this notion, this reality check, that we will at one point, we don't know when, but we will be separated from this body of mind. So here it's advising, if you go to cemeteries and so on, you can see the result of life here in the graves and so on, the bodies, they're all there. We know that they're decaying and so on. And so you say, I can't avoid this. This is something that's certainly going to be, there for me. My beautiful, cherished body that I've spent so much on to look after and take care of all these years, that after it's gone, this is it. There'll be no one to protect it, no one to care for it. It's just going to smell and decay and rot. And so we're trying to loosen this attachment to the body, swap it for actually taking the essence.
간제 저거 루브로 도나 떼고 말해서 도나 떼고래 루브 답고 야보자 루브도 규모 초바이나 and de la babe rang chötwege ane de kasa de nuba de gyuring bu pod che tu gorwa lu de tang lu tang bo yong ya lu ya bo yong ya la mo so ta bo jab go ta bo jabe lu de ane kasa na chötwe ta kasa lu la ma ne ba to ne ane chi kale timbe ja ya la ane lu tang ma je ba che ne kale de ja ba la de ne lu bo la ma ne ba che ro lu bo la ma ne ba to ne 마네베 토네 아니 칼레 잡투고 도나 리부 뒤에네 아니 지가 저데 냠네 제투고 도나 오다 강투도게 아니 제투바 지고래서 디 맞아 남시나 류디 소절라발 되게 말해서 마데베 니가 되는 아니 거다 니부 잡데 레나다 데베 갑라 칭니부 렌토나 야보르와 오다 섬저 류라 차네 아니 지가 소래 가소래 다지 펜바 주위에라 류당 제모도 보자 디체도 숨고 여러 왔다는 갑가라서 미르네베 두토도 손네다 현다게 루공 다다 다게 루디니스 안 숨바다 찍버지장레스 디야 니마 sombo cheba kala soso luins gechimbo shibu tsisa rede ina ta minduwa ngaya du namje dina shi chagres sumbarasa ana jigbe chedendo da chejen tane tawosa jigbe chijang res jigbe chijang chadeos 남시 권여다 뒤 남자들의 차그래 차와대 예 차버려서 결혼 냠도 야네 양도 삼로 당고레스 아니 다게 류디 데니도 장서 다게 류디에서 데니장 다 소소 류디야 아니 루버 줘나다 가지 남체 되는 차소나 아니 규르 뭐선을 지마 하에 차로데 간상서 담 류베 지마 칸에 베다 톨라도에 고주옹으로 루버 줘야 간지 뒤에 달리 지마 뒤라 되는 아니 저 남주 샤라 가보게 아니 젠세 된속에 아니 지마 저보 칸에 들 요도에 되는 용거です세베들 차바 된데 샤다 되는 세바 첨부 요겐게 와다 된데게 다 된속에 아니 지마 숙청부 가져들 가보 지금 말해서 루인의 톨라도에 다자 진가에 중도사 냐워 전대 바데 티를 용도 지금 와서 미죠 다니 데이터는 주에 홍대 다 된데 저 말하는 차이 요서 류디라 차바게베 내마이노다 류디 개치보스네 차바게 근데 말했어 얘네야 류디 따고 야고 자고랬어 지금 나서는 매세 최대 야보체 아니 지금 류세자고체 야보체 이마이나 류라 차네 아니 지금 출주에 통계 된다 류라 마네버토네 아니 통계 된저 배주 땅 도바지고 뒤제바다 류가 닝불련 도바지 그랬어 이 맞잖아 아니 거기다 가서도 류 여바되는 거 가지고서 찾으랬어 뭐 여러 어디래.
And so here, of course, it's not the case of simply, ignoring the needs of your body and just letting yourself go. This is not what's being recommended here. That you care enough about your body. You look after it enough to keep it fit. Why? Because it's to be able to sustain your practice. And that's important, that you need to keep your body well and fit. Why? Because you are trying to attain enlightenment here, and you need to be able to put it to work in a sustained practice. Very, very important. And to be able to do the best you can, you need to have a fit body to do that, right? Here it's but saying, what this verse is really talking about is saying, but this can't last. You know that you are going to be separated. And so at that point, you want to be sure that you have taken the essence of that and not distracted by pandering to the body and over attachment to the body, and be able to take the essence and so on. And so here, feed it, make sure you take medicine when it's unwell, and follow the instructions and so on for a fit body. Look after it in order for it to put it into work for the state of enlightenment, for sentient beings. So here it's talking about the particular case where you can depart to the cemetery, where you can understand that your live body here and the dead bodies that are decaying in that cemetery, there's really no essential difference between them, and that at one point you will join them, and you will start to decay to the point where you become actually so disgusting that carnivores like foxes and so on will avoid the area because they can't stand the smell of it. And so in that particular instance, then you can first think about ways in which you can erode the attachment you have to the body, and then give that attention more to your practice.
Tene yinsa lui di chakpa kyesa ne mares chakpa kyesa ne ina ka ne mares chakpa kyesa pi ta ko ya ko shu ji san cha de go tene kyesa ne mares ko chakpa kyesa yu mares mo yora ina ta ni bu le ge rang ge ji ge che da ji den ga zhe de tun ge zhu bie ge da me tun ge ji da wa tun ge ji da wa ina yang ina tun ge ji le tun ge na ne ge chi bu ji le re de ina de chaksa yu mares ko sa yu de ge lu bu khora 아니 가서도 톨라 쪽에 아니 남신의 배주 매바 차 쪽에 와다 된데게 지금 남신은 다 초가에 매되게 차게 됐어. 그러나 술라에 고 막고게 차게 됐고 라제 된데 됐어. 이내 다고 지금 톨라 마조에 인게라 아니 고 님보들 렌토바 이나 다들 다 겹사로 와 이나데 차배 온게 님보 렌마도는 이 경험을 해서 뭐여
So it's a very straightforward point that basically saying the body is not any place or anything that should encourage attachment. What it is a cooperative condition for one's practice, to make that very clear, that it's the nature of the body to decay and to deteriorate. Before this happens, I will take its essence to make sure that I put it to work for my Dharma practice. And I can best do that by really avoiding any attachment to it.
다 개치도 셈대로도 루보라 셈네베링가 되라 루보디 피타고 되도 셈데 조사도는 루보 피타고 매바 차도 솔라도도 셈데 개치 뭐 주래도
And we see here in terms of body and mind, the mind is that which is more important. That with a fit mind, then we can make use of the body. But without a fit mind, then we are also wasting that precious quality of the body.
루다 셈 카테르도 루 촐라도 고조 루 코라 란시데 촐라 동게레도 이나 촐라 만도와 순데게 셈데레도
And so also at the end of life, it's the body that deteriorates and goes, that this is the nature of the body. It's a temporary vehicle for us, and we have to part from it, and the mind goes on.
다 니바 자셰라 차베 그다 자셰라사 차베 님볼라 소소도 볼라 숨제 레다 소소 류다도 돌아 차바 용거래 아니 디 자제 아니 소소게 니니실라 차바 용거로 와 보다 돼서 다 니바 자셰라 차베 님볼라 소소도 볼라 숨제 아니 자셰라 차바 미리바 디 좀제 내직도 샤지 전부도 충분 삼바 오자
The second of those points was an antidote to attachment to friends and loved ones. And that this is dealt with in 3 subheadings. The first is that attachment to friends and loved ones is incorrect. Secondly, the reasoning behind that. And thirdly, then reflecting on this being a guest staying in one place for one night.
자셰라 차바 메리바데 자왈레사 류디 지부 중앙양 현재 개베 샤류다 시드 소소 개조나 자와šan다 지식
And so the first point then is the attachment to the to friends and loved ones being incorrect. Verse number 31 states, although this body arose as one thing, the bones and flesh with which it was created will break up and separate. How much more so will friends and others?
보제 다 간제 자셰라 펜바 주고래 그러나 어다 먼저 좀베 타마데 데토에레 이네 디 마데베 빠던 것도 참보제 tum보제 펜바 주 야보제 어데레 이네 착데데 다 펜거 말이 숨어요 와 팽그 말이었어. 이네들 편바 모두 쓴거 요봐. 자제 계정 말에 편바 모두 로고 맞지 쓴거 요 말이야. 그냥 거좀 세부 지구로 와. 소소 편바 줍도에 주나 편바 줍 약보체. 디간에 딱 뭐서 개회 타만 치에래. 전에 인바 인사 아니 단다 좀배 깔은 것도 근데 참고 tum보 약보 치고 삼사지 약보 참고 tum보 지에. 다가는 저기 아니 교육부 가서 때나 하고 막 치원 예발 남지 예매데 전에 인바 인상 뭐서 자그리 더보다 녁다서보다 매바자 tum보 전에 저기 있어. 아니 강도도 편파도 봐 저기 있어서 tel레전에 다 득대요 와. 득대요 와. 다들 맞아 아니 배 되매게 차근에 대봐 있나? 안디 착사가 유지 말했어. 자신을 착과 메려나 류의 지부 중화양 랑달 현재도 개배 샤류 이 풍부인 라사다 소소 냠도 요데 샤류고 풍부대 대야 대다장 식대 소소 배 미지직 다배 24hour 7 day 냠도 대디게 풍부대 남체의 식도도 매바 차도다 식대 카테도 소소 개와 주나 다 류지 공부 좀 배. 다 레왕 말에 레게 온게 다 소소 개왕 말 레게 온게 안 다리 좀 되게 자세 자와 현다 대와 대두고 대와도 시험을 다지 메데 카테두고 왔어. 소소 셔리 소소 전부인데 토마용데 냠도 연구고 류부디다 카테두고 왔어. 카테두고 왔어. 나 자와 현다 소소가 다 년이 저 빈빈자도 조부 정말 봐도 카테게 뭐다 다 쳐자와 왔어.
And so here it's really discussing the principle of whatever comes together, is gathered together, will inevitably separate and be parted. The verse here is referring to the comparison between the fact that we have to leave our body, that which we come into this world with, and then, of course, what need we talk about being able to separate from, having to separate from friends and relatives. And so it's really a case here of, again, understanding that when you have it, take the essence of it, knowing that at some point you will have to be separated from it, and be it your body, be it your friends and relatives. And you can best take the essence of it by not having any attachment to it. Here, what is going in when you have these conditions, whatever those conditions are, when they kind of accumulate, as it were, for you, you ask the question, what benefit can come from this? How can I increase the virtue? How can I benefit other sentient beings? And take the essence before this inevitably disintegrates, be it my body or the connections I have with friends and relatives. And that's a very, very, again, when you reflect on death, the fact that death is definite, the fact that the time of death is indefinite, should really clarify and crystallize this kind of thinking for us, that there is no time to waste. Take the essence now, because destruction and disintegration is coming. So here too, when we talk about friends, due to particular karma, we have connections with friends and loved ones in this life. But again, this karma is not something permanent. It lasts as long as that imprint doesn't run out. So therefore, you have to factor in to the fact that you are going to separate from them, or they're going to separate from you, and that you have to again ask the question, what is most important here, while I have this connection, is to be of maximum benefit here. What is going to ensure that I make maximum benefit here? This is really what's really talked about, the taking the essence. And this is a 24/7 thing, that you have this understanding that time is passing, that there's no kind of holiday of time. It's just going to continue on. And as it is, the contaminated aggregates of body that we have are deteriorating, decaying, and there's no kind of break in that. It's happening continuously 24/7. But you've got to turn this around into that, taking that benefit in the same way, with the same sense of counteracting that by saying, I am going to engage in 24/7 benefit here.
그래. 다 이내 다다 도스 로가 가르쳐서 단다 또 땡에지 주베체도 땡에지 주베체도 송한데 아니 랑게 류라 마차 와체 아니 류기 님이다. 그래서 오다 땡에지 검다 공고를 때 이내다 근데 갈래 잡토서 말이야 삼사 야 근데 근데 아니 류라 차배 온게 땡에지 검에 맞중와 야나 랑게 녜녜도라 소발라 근데 차네 에 땡에지 검에를 객제바 이나 안또 딜라 삼타에도 왔다 또 그래서 땡에지 검에 기대 시험도 삼등의 리우 컵도 된데 땡에지 거다 야 가셔 자셔라 사와 녜녜도라 소바 된데 차네 안에 땡에지 검에를 객시게 되는 요구 열와 계획제도로 왔다 된데 계획도에 저도 뒤숭 되고 그렇다 소수 류대 샤는 쪽으로는 다다디 안에 저거 소수가 다 저거 녜녜도라 소바 된서 다 샤고바데 셰모 버렸어 이내 다다 그거 개발체 땡에지 검에체도 이마 인자 안 되줄려봐다 그 남실 샤는 샤고래 단다 땡에지 검에게 다 고갑 주요바 있는 스고다 대 검게지만 오다 땡에지 검에체도 되줄려봐다 게 가서 미닝풀을 왔어 좀 전에 말해도 왔어 왔다 되게 삼로다네 아니 딜라 맞아봐 쟤네 다 간제 땡에지를 객만 도 해체도래 와做단다做되래 류래做되래 왔다 단다 저
And of course, what's under discussion here is the kind of obstacles that can arise to the development of meditative concentration, of meditative absorption. And this is the context. And so here it's saying that if you are, starting to set up your practice, and in the course of doing that, you're starting to get, feel uncomfortable in the body, you have to understand that this is attachment to the physical aggregate, and that's acting as an obstacle to your developing meditative concentration. If your mind is filled with relatives and friends and loved ones, again, that is acting as an obstacle to you being able to focus the mind on meditative concentration. And this is to avoid these issues becoming obstacles to your development of a perfect meditative concentration. And the antidote on the reverse side here is to kind of, now that you have, you have found a place in which you can actually sit and develop this level of concentration, to rejoice in this great opportunity that you have been able to gain to actually develop this. This is something incredibly meaningful. And so I don't want to mess it up by wasting time on attachment to the body or attachment to friends and loved ones.
어디 단다디 가서나 단다디 땡에서 거매체도 가서나 가서나 땡에진 거매게 아니 된데게 된 개첨부 저게 체도 된다 개첨부 체게 체도 다 간자 저게 아니 가서데 체도 아니 된데 두배 여바들 아니 녀도라서 받도 차네 아니 드라마도 봐 차바 임바이나디 가서 정확하게도 와 정확하게 여자 아니 왔다 딜 마차 외쳐도 어디 삼로 당다 드레스 당고래 숨고 열와 된다 가야 매바지라 타마 카테 두고도 왔어 다다 된다 치부지 주베 주도 카테와 이네 그 좀제 된바래도 와서 열와 좀제 된바래도 왔다 된다 딜도 와 다 남시나 카테 두고래 내가 온거 카테 딜들 좀제 가요 말해 다다 땡에지 공부 인스네 아니 딜라 차바빠네 파카테도나 디 좀제도 왔어 그렇지? 심지어 탐제를 패배체도 왔어. 얘도를 패배체도 해도 왔어.
And so here again, in the course of the job at hand, the task at hand is the development of a meditative concentration, to focus on how incredibly meaningful that is. And so you can say, the reality is, of course, that yes, that at one point you will have to separate from the body and friends and loved ones and so on. But in particular, when I am in this at this task of developing meditative concentration, that the attachment to friends and relatives is unhelpful and a major obstacle. And so for that reason, I will abandon it and be able to focus more perfectly on the job at hand. This is the reasoning that's supporting the meditative concentration.
니버디 종전에서 자월래 깨나 지부 계정에 지나 되니 직치대 동에 계셔 밀려나 계제 자외 지시자슴.
The second of the subheadings was the reasoning for that, meaning the reasoning for developing an antidote to friends and loved ones. Verse number 32 deals with that. It says, "At birth I was born alone, and at death too I shall die alone. As this pain cannot be shared by others, what use are obstacle-making friends?"
다 간제 저기 타바다 탐지 겸 돈도 많이 그 개왕같이 돈도 많이 그 되는데 저 봐야만 소소 돼 버렸다. 문에다나 타바 탐지 겸 때도 산지기 공부 주긴 있어서 되는데 지금 집안 딱 님벌레 된저고 님벌레기 있으니 되는데 가서 지금 다 삼로단다 됐던 구구로 쓰고 여러 사실은 차과 미리고 좀세 여대서 여대 다 깨나양 소소 개왕도 다 가봐 개와네 그 사실 점도 개왕하지 개면 도와 아니 지고 개구도 개신서 다 되네 가서 다 직된되는 거제 대원의 토마 치료로 와 친나야 소저 직보 치료고도 와 치료고도 와 로바 용의 개개면도 와 용의 개면도 와서 다 간제 지금 자세라서 와서 차 아니 자세 mam바든서 당황게다 다 차단 걸 놓게네 된데 그래서 다 차단 놓게네 다 digde 동해라 속에 개와신 자세 대다기에서 밀레나서 다 근데 차단을 놓게네 아니 소소가 디관 나서와 자세를 미네 디관 나서와 싸원 지어와 digde에서 동해와 나서와 아이께와 단 된데게 아니 가서 다 된데 가서 고세 잡는 케케면 도와서 아니 로 디과자 싸와데 디과 체가 자세케 체가 소수케 되네 뭐다 소수 디과 싸워 소수케는 정도 도와서 개와 자세 대다게 링기면 도와서 밀레나 아니 개와래 계획증은 당내 심제 탐제도 산제 고마 적게 대체도 아니 가서도 다 가서 동만이 시럽 개청부 적도 시럽게 아니 시대 아니 가서도 땡에지 개청부 적도 아니 뒤 고매게 아니 공경의 계획 제외게 아니 자시다 하나 고야면도 지자대 내가 가야면도 싶어보죠.
So again, this verse is again the background for this, of course, is that one is involved in this singular process of developing meditative concentration. Why? Why am I doing this? For whether my motivation is to attain a positive rebirth or the state of liberation or the omniscient state of enlightenment. What I am trying to do is to take the essence out of whatever time I have left here, and that and that that attachment and so on is going to be no help to me. And so it's saying here that again, the reasoning why attachment to loved ones is unhelpful in this context. You say, I was born alone, I will die alone, and nobody is going to be able to help me at that point. This is the nature of things. Once born, death is inevitable, and that and again, that whatever karma I have accumulated in terms of negativities and the resultant suffering that will come from that, I cannot share this out amongst my friends and loved ones. I take that with me as well. And so they're going to be of no benefit to me. But the attachment to them can act as a major obstacle to virtue, to my being able to accumulate virtue. And again, to say that, that attachment is going to be no help. And I am in the game here. I want to attain a positive rebirth. I want to attain the liberation from cyclic existence. Ultimately, I want to attain the omniscient state of enlightenment to be of benefit to all sentient beings. And so therefore, this kind of thinking, this kind of attachment to friends and relatives isn't helpful. It's not beneficial to me. And it's no way I can take the essence of my life if I have this attitude. So this is just another reasoning to say that I must separate from these obstacle-making friends.
개왕아지 켈링게 렌데 켈링게 심지 탐제 그도 다 산제 고마 모토나 탑문도 덴데게 삼로 땅게 덴데게 따와케 되게 덴데게 간사지 뭐네다 아니 덴데게 두발라 아니 객 뭐요게는 삼로 땅다지와 삼로 땅다지 어디 삼로 땅다지 어디 대미 강게 덴데 제고로 숨고요 말에 덴데 강게 덴데 제 숨고요 말에 다 가자 덴데게 삼로 땅게 지바 이나다 닝불레 발라다 덴데 제고로 숨고요 봐.
So this thinking around taking the essence and so on of life is, of course, for a person who has accepted past and future lives, so it's accepted the law of cause and effect, so accepted the fact that the teachings practiced will lead to the state of enlightenment. They are embedded in this way of thinking. And so then in this behavior towards others and so on, towards the body, towards friends and relatives, this kind of attachment, we can see it's very clearly an obstacle to one's ambitions based on those understandings. And so it's not for everyone, of course, but this is the thinking behind it, that in order to take the essence, I must swap all attachment for the taking of that essence.
뭐다 근데 냠내 집에 가라 되네 거 저기 나도 내 당보 인사 아니 개그 요한이 가서 왔다 근데 개그 용거 아니 개그 마용 와라 순접 된데 지구래 순거 다 순바 내 지도 샤주 도와도 순바래다 문에 전에 뭐도 개와 토마 매반에 개와래 단다야 아니 가서래 다 근데 지 가서 개와 딜래 로아 개와 딜래 다 개와 되네 가서 그 세배 규 무튼에 저거서 그 개와네 개와래네 줘야 인바 인도 아니 단다게 미제데 바 축담 소리져봐 축담 소리져다 축담 소리져 다 단다게 빈빈자도 접고 되게 돼 아니 개와 치마 변절이야 살아서 고두 이내 빈자도 접고도 말이야 섬서 다 책을 섬서 아니 야 대화 매긴 차도 그래 다 근데 저 밤에 sem제 차도 다나 좋아지 근데 저는 좋아 되게 와 왔는데 저다 지금 가서래 니마 지금 조사게 아니 가서래 다 가서래 니마 지금 다 근데 디바 전부를 거라잖아 투레스 쪽도 와 to restaurant to the time nima rest nima restaurant 거라잖아 왔다 뒤쪽에서 뭐죠 미지 된데 두바 소리 res 로 단다 미지 된데 두바 소리 res 다 된데 뭐자 숨바 그래서 숨바 내지도 샤지 전부 다 충분 상반에 자와래 람다 돈에 슈반남 지단 내내 진짜 따라 대신 시베 람슈바 개베 내내 용수 진서.
And so the third of these points and these outlines is the reflecting on how similar our situation should be to like a traveler who stays in one place for one night and thereafter moves along, and it's relating this to the way in which we have go from life to life as well, and that we this kind of really are kind of like from a beginner's point of view, we need to protect ourselves as much as possible, that we have taken this life but it won't last, it will go. And it's kind of like saying, in the course of countless lifetimes since beginningless time, one life is like a finger snap, very, very quick. Always talk about how quickly time goes, and that we in terms of relationships as well, now that this person is friend, now this person is enemy, and vice versa, and going back and forth, that we have to see ourselves as more like a tourist, that we are here for such a short time, laying down our camp, next day take up camp again and head off to another place. That as in our life since beginningless time, we are like a tourist like this, and treated like this, with the same level of non-attachment. And this is looked at at verse number 33, which says, in the same way as travelers on a highway leave one place and reach another, likewise those traveling on the path of conditioned existence leave one birth and reach another.
Right, pena lamda lamda 그래서 더 배나 람다도는 슈베 정보나서다 사자 찍는 찍을 조고 유나다 그 니마지를 차단 조도 말와다 사자 같이 대고처럼 정보나다 정보나 지다 내직도 오사 반에 내직을 때 안디 반자 산이야 내셔버져 되네 아니 내셔버져 로데서 반에 내 현실도 좀 제봤다 대신도 시벨람도 시와 코 토시제나 원남에 봐도 코데가 말아도 시벨람도 슈바 남자 리뷰 찍다라다 다른 리 컨디지라 아니 배나 개갑 컨디지 개와나 거주인의 개갑들 개그래 말해 야 개와 저마다 개갑 산다 리 산다 미다올 개되그래 와들 야 거주인의 밀레케를 말해 스카브가브리아 캥구루를 개그래 와라빌을 개그래다 개대 민다와 되다 둔두 리 민다와 요래 미기 리 민다와 요래 아니 이다라 소바 리 민다와 요래 다 냐와들 다 레냐바사나 민다와 개그래 야 레상바사나 할라 소바 할래 리민다와 망보 쇼중거 된델레 개도에 거 니바다 천에 매된 거지 지라 소베사 개베 내신 용소 진짜 야 직디 파야 직래 직방 와 된데서 droden 다 간제 가서 투레스 나신 전에 다 선물을 거라진 거 투레스 나신 전에 다 사자찍나 사자찍을 뭐 찍나 보는 봐 어디서 droden 거 왔다 어떤데 전에 다现在用所怎么一边绿个大说绿的绿的当，俺年了说吧，看呀，大概忙个吧，他的也把干要嘛的是，这的了绿的了，两万的叫我怎么绿的了那个嘛的，这的了年的了讲叫我怎么年就把叫用嘛的，我的年没着的，大概也把得到啥，吃吧帮了些，等这个年这个等这这个都，当然我做当真我用这个了，多对。当真个我这么多，我那长得对我有点说嘛的，我他现在了，吃吧都帮不了事，是不这？
Yeah, so here it's as it says in the same way as travelers on a highway, they move constantly, staying in one place for one night, then decamping and moving off, and staying in another place, decamping and moving off, and staying in another place, decamping. This constant sense of movement and impermanence about their situation is related to even in this world of conditioned existence and cyclic existence. You know, we are constantly changing our form, changing our from going from one life to the next in the state of having, you know, infinite births. You know, now we're a human being, now we're an animal, a kangaroo or a wallaby or any other kind of wild animal, that and you know, it can be momentary, and like one rebirth, it's abandoned to take another rebirth in another form, abandoned to take another rebirth in another form. Again, it's constant change, constant moving on, and that what is that's the reality of the situation. The mind state that the mind state that really prevents us from really living in that reality is this grasping at permanence, so really thinking that things are going to last. But that can be a major impediment. And so we have to see that we are, in a way, you know, moving from one birth to the other, just like a tourist is leaving from one place to another constantly. And that's the best way to think of it.
我等等，他反正就你把早晚年的没跟着，我等等这本来这个旁边兵家人呢，猜的了旁边兵家人把人呢，猜怎么样扎起的个用不有的，是吧？扎的呀，猜你妈扎呢，猜的年的就我等等用不有的，是吧？是吧？这他等等用。等等这，我这老母的这做了，别忙不讲了，送过多，我等等这，你把早晚年的没这个去，俺等等你把没这个去了，我让做给全部这那边上的台湾人呢，俺东南台湾说差这个是吧？因为这里面偏把做萝卜切嘛切，这真去嘛跟什么切的，俺托马没听一家呗， 파마레 안 다리 빈빈자데 녀도 되는 나라 국업을 들어 로바제 들어 편도장에 국업을 삼사제 그러와 그러와 배나 차차바이나 지 낭미다 된줄 배나 지 편바 주에 국업제 중간에 거두이네 그러와 배나 쇼강 아불라는 로바제가 쇼강 아불라는 건데 치부제 로바제 건데 치부제 로바제 소소류라 차 마대바 제네 다들 문에 소속단의 제투에도 게 제투는 야보래 안데서 배 토마면에 진짜면 막게 sem제제 다른 게데 파마 빙자제는 용바 인바 인상 안 게들어 봐 레라고 거네 제투고도 안데 제투는 갈 구급래 마음보다 심제 탐제라 되는 시 제투바 쇼 섭자잖아요 어때 제제 용구로 봐 삼로 된다 삼로 된다 단에 봐 좀제 들려 되네요 삼로 단에 대 용구도 봐 용구로 봐 어때
So we have this reality of there being nothing definite. Everything is so indefinite, and that's something that we need to understand. And many examples of this in the graduated path teachings as well, of that the person you held so closely in this life, in the next life, can be an enemy. Somebody in your family you really held precious can have a totally different relationship in a different life. The relative and so on that you were so close to as well can be very distant in a future life. That relationships themselves are indefinite, moving from life to life. So there's kind of this insecurity element to, because of the indefinite of things, that should really turn our minds to the here and now. To say that now is the time I have an opportunity. This is the time I've got to make the most of this now, because of this uncertainty. And that, that means that with my family, it's the question of how can I always be of benefit? How can I be of help to them? How can I bring happiness to them? How can I remove suffering for them? That all sentient beings all around me are kind mother sentient beings. Therefore, the only question I have to ask is, how can I help them? How can I be of benefit to them? This is my time. This is my opportunity. When I'm fit and well now, I want to do the best I possibly can. How? And then, when you're doing this for one other sentient being, ask how you can actually then do this for all sentient beings, to expand your mind like that, to bring that sense of the benefit to all sentient beings into it. So this is the way in which to treat the very short time and the very small opportunity we have to benefit.
다 단다데 땡에서 거메 돌 중국 열때 이내 단다 뭐좀 미건가 땡에서 공부할 주고 요 말이야. 다 공부할 주고 뭐 건가 김상 열에 사장 열에 아니 능미 열에 다 된저야 된줄라 빠바야 줄래 열에 나가 땡에서 공부 말디 대화 요 말되네 말이고 랑게 류 남친아 돌그래 단다 류 여바데 답고 야고 잡네 야 지가서의 능미다 sem발에 강투도 편도 제도에 이내 디펜도 제도 루고 녀스가 요 말이야. 편도 제서 루불라 마차베 토네 안 강투도 대야 토마메 진짜 마긴 심제데 안 다른 걸 구급을 다른 거 수부 당보도 제도고도 아니 강투도 예치고 자서 르르데 예치고 소소 제 탑시 제 어떤데 다 남치나 르 님부 메바차 다른 님부 여바 제투베 가도 님부들 렌토나 대야 최다 tum바 렌토에 대야 심제 탐에 산제 고마토베쳐도 아니 편바 주베 그러 편도에 갑도 낭밀을 두고 열때 꾸노데 심제 탐제도 산제 고마토베쳐도 아니 편도 주베 안 대야 토마메 딩이자 마긴 심제 다른 레게온 얘기 낭미전을 레벨 나는 국업을 삼sab제네 다른 게 딜라 편바 두바네시 마음보다 심제 탐제라 디네시 제토바 쇼 삼사 제를 두바이나 왔다 거기 야부 연구를 와 야부 연구를 어딘데 다 들레제도 들레제네 그 남신은 치도고 치는 그 탑식하면 마치고 가는 게 배주 땅도는 얘기데 님보들 렌투도 삼사져요 그 덴델레 삼로다는 레도 단다데 즉 강가 땡에서 공부 말할 얘네 때는 납절 내야 못 도와 치원 예배 남진 예배 치외서 치원의 강가 미배바 인바 인자티 최대 좀 거는 미지게 돈 내야 못 열어
And so, of course, here again, to bring our minds to focus on the point, the task at hand is to develop meditative concentration, and detailing all of the kind of conditions that are necessary to be able to do this. And we can well conclude that you know, in the situation I'm in now, I can't dedicate myself to actually establishing those conditions in order to develop meditative concentration. But you know, in looking after my body, I can put it to the work that I can do now, which is, you know, being the best I can be in helping the best way I can to family, to friends, to close ones all around. And to see this as, you know, this is the opportunity that is given to me now and the conditions that I have now. And I am going to take the essence of these conditions to be able to be of maximum benefit to the sentient beings around me now, and make the aspiration that in the future, I can do this for all sentient beings. It's important that we are realistic in doing this, so that when we die, we have no regrets, and we can say, yeah, I did the best I did with the cards that were dealt to me. I was able to take the essence of what I was doing, even though I didn't develop meditative stabilization because the conditions weren't there for me. I was able to do the best I could. I was able to apply the meditations on death, the fact that it is definite, that the time is indefinite, that at the time of death, only Dharma practice will be of helpful to me. And I did the best I could, and die with a satisfaction.
지난 것도 레당바스는 착바스는 용거래. 착당 온게 제 용거래. 이네 강 축축축다 다예. 아 강투도게 아니 착당 매배 돈에 아니 편바 주비에 삼로 다예. 그러 강투도 오 녜게 빙자래 녜 파마래 녜게 산다래 녜 이메 좀세 맞다 봤잖아. 진짜 막힌 거 심제래. 토마매면 진짜 막힌 거 심제래. 막힌 심제 다른 레게 온게 녜게 낭미제네. 양은 녜게 빙빙자 정보 잘려. 나라 구급제래. 근데 이마다 당게 심제 탐제를 편바 주베게 아니 주대 예 디도나 사토바 지긴 삼사자 아니 편바 주바이나 아니 산제 줄어 줘되기로 와 아니 소소에 제바데 니보시 렌토고도 와 당에 산다레 녜 파마레 녜 부고레스 제바이나 다 니바카야 요마르테는 남주 다 계자 갑도르 샤바나 든두게 코란조 부고로 바자바다 잡아버려 코란조 소소에 부고 임베기 든두가 지고 자지고도 코란조 바지고 알아 다 편도다래 야보다 이네 취를 조금은 도와 다 취를 줘야 돼 대나 태바침에 취를 줘야 돼다 뭐저 남주고 돈에 제국도 와 시락고 돈에 제국도 와 근데서 토마만 된자뭐 다른 얘기 레가 온게 들려 좀 알아 구급제래도 와 땅에 구급제 배주 땅에 심지 탐자를 되는 이제 편바 주도 봐 지금 삼삼 텐데가 삼로 땅도 봐 얘는 아니 다 님부들 렌토고 와
And so, of course, as beginners, we are very much prone, isn't it, to attachment and aversion arising quite readily. But we've got to see that being able to act without any attachment, without any aversion, is the best way to be of benefit. And that we move away from identifying so closely with my family, my children, my relatives, that to kind of relabel these relationships as my relationship with kind mother sentient beings, and that I have this relationship due to the karmic connection that I've had with them, and I see this as just a wonderful opportunity, and I'm going to take this opportunity to be as kind, to repay the kindness as best I possibly can. And you know, when I am able to do this with the motivation of the mind of enlightenment, the wisdom realizing emptiness, and so on, I am creating the causes to attain enlightenment, and that equals the taking the essence of the situation. So, from my point of view, to move away from simply, you know, rearing a family, identifying so closely with the attachment that involves, because even at the animal level, you know, animals look after their young quite well, but there's no dharma in it for them. They don't have that level of intelligence. We as human beings, we can upscale the actions that we do in the course of family relations and so on by transforming them, taking the attachment and aversion out of it and replacing it with a, the mind of enlightenment motivation and the wisdom realizing emptiness motivation. And so that we take the essence of all of the natural, normal kindnesses that are done in the course of family relations and rearing a family, etc., etc. And so this is something that we need to kind of bring to the fore of our mind altogether, that these people I know, those that within my circle, this is not an accident. Through karma, this is an opportunity that has come my way, an opportunity to make the most benefit out of this situation as I possibly can, and to make sure that I am laying down the causes to attain the state of enlightenment. That is taking the essence.
뭐다 된데서 공부 셰투바 이나타 야부 쉽죠 다 된데 전체와 아니 어때 아니 가자 저번에 깔래카고 말 어디 니 냠래 인섬 제거 봐 아니 저 땡큐 레와 요 말이야 다 때문에 땡큐 맞잖아 기부샤 요 말이야 다니 냠래 인섬서 저도 아니 땡큐 고구문도 근데 기부요래 아니 깔래카고 말 탕체고 말이야 어디 야부 쉽죠
And so that if we can do it like that, that's something that is going to be great, that not hard for us. We're not looking for thanks, whether it's not necessary. You don't need, a big appreciation or anything like that, because you're looking at it as your practice. And that should be enough, that we are delighted, very satisfying, and wonderful. I'm actually doing what is in harmony with the Dharma here. This is something normal that I have to do every day. I'm doing it in harmony with the Dharma. I'm doing the best I can from the situation.
뭐들 저는 남미네 저는 타입에 맞게 섬자타 저라 수토바이네 수통와이네 아니 고노된데 저는 아니 배주 땅 투와 집아이나 아니 가서다 간자 가서다 지금은 제투가 저래도 와. 제마도가 저래도 와. 다 제마도가 있는 내줄로도 뭐지 제투가 저래도 와. 다 땡에서 검수도 감각하고 있는 다 되는데 제투에래도 와.
So we do what we can, not your family. This is kind, mother, sentient beings that we are dealing with here. This is my practice I'm doing. No exhaustion. Just keep going. Do what you can. Do the best you can.
어떤 데 샤 어디서 아니 다들 양조 가서 뭐도 통화도 검조시냐다. 등 검셔줘도 어쨌지.
And so we'll leave it there for today, and then we bring our minds again to the merit field and the meditation that we are doing.
아니 라마도 배운것도 양조 검조죠. 아니 뭐다 감성 조화리로 가서 지켜봤는 동해를 맞아 들은 예와 좀 연주를 공부하시. 들은 연주 예별로데 아니 이게 가서도 밤질라 죽고랑게 저거 이거 밤지 줘서 밤 용서 줘발래 아니 배마다 맞게 받질라 줘서 아니 지난 거 좁은데 저는 유단 줘봐 뒤서 용마서 커다 줘봐 공부하시. 이게 가서 홍질라 쭉 홍질라 줘 홍용서 줘발래 님의 좀 뭐냐고 줘서 섬차자 다 심지어 탐제가도 산제 공부 마도 타면도 도바지리 선도 공부하자 전대 예배 듬바데 이게 아주 아연서 다위진 원냐 강아서 반대 자가 너무 다가 좁은 그 구소투 정도로 찾아서 수대 담배 가서 배 입에 가서 좀 되는서 산제 공부 마도 보다 저 수수서 아니 되나 야라도 메데다 저 어디는지
And so then we bring our mind to focus on the Guru Manindra in the space in front, and the process of establishing a seating arrangement on our crown by first of all reflecting on renunciation, how the fact that all cyclic existence is in the nature of suffering. This thought wishing to gain definite emergence from there produces the syllable BAM, which transforms into the lotus mandala seat on my crown. The fact then that all outer and inner phenomena lack any objective existence, that they are merely imputed, and that this mere negation of the object of negation produces the syllable Hung, which transforms into the sun mandala seat on the crown. And then the fact that this then leads to the fact that all phenomena arise in dependence, and that this then leads to the possibility of attaining the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, symbolized by the syllable A, which transforms into the moon mandala seat on my crown. And then I utter the invocation verse thrice. So, glorious and precious root guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed there on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the merit field in front. At the end of the second, arrives at my pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third recitation, I have the certainty that the Guru Buddha will remain until I attain the state of enlightenment. I rejoice at this point and then make the offerings of the 7 limbs and the mandala offering.
조금 더 가서 내가 좀 더서 아니 대 용서 줘발래 이게 홍지 교수 선서자 뼈마다 맞죠 홍 용서 줘발래 아니 님의 지원냐 하고 교수 선서자 되는 심지 탐제도 산제 공부 요원 좀 맞아 토바치기 선서 공부자 된된 예별로데 아니 님의经过 된도 이게 아치를 교수 아 용서 줘발래 아니 다외 지원냐 하고 교수서 반대 잡을라 뭐 뭐서 다가 님과 빼면 자 고를 좀 구선 공부를 짜도서 순대 잡아가다 아니 랑게 지워 lama tuwe angbo jiwane wege namba jama juene ani tambe kaso ju nibe kaso shu sumbe ka tendu shu sanje kuma mato wachaso ta yakwa shu chung kao kong ani ning pe ma tabje de ma namju ning nedan ne shi interesting di ka doji ka bo zanga chega je kaja di tago de tumbe sunga omone mone ma mone sa ba sung ko de tene ji jambe yang so om ara ba na di tene tende ko so om ye da me ma shama na yo so ba sung ko de shi de ko ba.
So then again, we set about establishing the mandala seat at our own heart center by reflecting on renunciation, producing the syllable BAM, and this transforms into the lotus mandala seat at our heart center. Again, reflecting on how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, even at the atomical level, and that we use placement meditation for a moment just to focus on the mere negation of that object of negation. This produces the syllable hung, which transforms into the sun mandala seat at our heart center. And then reflecting on how we want to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, generating that mind of enlightenment, which is symbolized by the syllable A, which transforms into the moon mandala seat at our heart center. And then the invocation verse again, oh glorious and precious root guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed there at my heart. Keep you safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the Guru Buddha moves down into the central channel. At the end of the second recitation, the Guru Buddha arrives at the pre-prepared seat at the heart. And at the end of the third recitation, again, we have that joyful understanding that the Buddha will remain until we attain a state of enlightenment. Now, the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at their tips by a white 5-pronged vajra. That then is surrounded by 3 mantras. The name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha going in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination in a clockwise direction.
rangi nyingi wese shubati, anu kusungtala wese chuna, rangi chibone, kanti kipala wese chuna, luki nantari wese chabala tene, ani chikasole ta kanja, chabala tene ta, chigi migi chubungu chutana kiawala soba, tana, tona ta kata, chebe khana mato bada, rangshen khana mato bada, nyeba, ta chigi tsetiyan, tsengama, tengama, toma mengo chan, nyeba kanja sawan bada, 장지 다 다가는 생각 소다가 동바다 가와 자주스바 라바다 가와 상하에 단세다 가와 파다 말라 마구바다 제보다 로벨라 마구바다 좋아 상마 좀 군조스로 뇌베 레지바 담배 제보 법의 준대로 고아도 심제다 뇌베라 도나 토레다 탑에 계속 중에 예바 근데 싸워는 바 장지 다바 중소 삼상 공바차 장지 다바 중소서 공바차 안다가 이제 류게 나자 생각 동에라서 버데 장지다 자롱 틸레 견다제 장은 가나 타자 다바는 자바지 차도 야고 중소 서로 공바차
And so then from within, light rays begin to emanate from the Guru Manindra, and they permeate throughout my entire body, through every cell of the body, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, affecting a very powerful purification of all negativities and obscurations that we have accumulated in since beginningless time in general, and all the negativities associated with the 10 non-virtues, the negativities that are related to this life, the previous one, the one to that, previous to that, the previous to that, going right back to beginningless time, all the naturally occurring negativities and all those actions prescribed by the Buddha. All the negativities associated with downfalls and degenerations of pratimoksa vows, of bodhisattva vows, of tantric vows, all of the actions of disrespect shown to our parents, right up to our gurus, all of the negative attitude we've had towards preceptors, of the splitting of the sangha, of the forsaking the dharma, all the negativities related to ailments in the body that prevent our perfect practice of the Dharma, and ailments in the mind that prevent our perfect practice of the Dharma. All the imbalances of the elements of the channels, winds, and drops in the body, they are all purified and realigned. And particularly the main negativity that prevents us from quickly attaining the state of enlightenment, ordinary view, is renounced, and we take on pure view.
아니 소소 신도 저 롱데 년레자 라마샤자선 고데 렌제자 소소류다 라마샤자선 고르죠 소소 신도 저 셈데 년레자 라마샤자선 고데 렌제자 소소 셈데 라마샤자 토르죠 라가 룽가사 라마샤자 고조통 거이면 대대와데 대와도 대도 니스메 시자 소소 오다 셈제 탐제도 산제 고마저 셈제고 되는 두고인서 니마 되는 투투 가고 가고 오다 셈제 탐제 산제가 살라고바 대시도 수도 겨워칸을 두고 소도 유대다 마주 but you don't what do I want to pataza so they were to don't the news me she so some kombacha.
And then through the combination of my own more subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And through the combination of my own more subtle mind or consciousness acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. Now I see myself as inseparable. My body, speech, and mind is inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. I rejoice at this point. I experience a sense of bliss, which combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. The place that I am in also is transformed of all fault and degeneration and becomes the pure realm of an enlightened being.
What is it? What happened? Tanda did that, maybe you just Munakora de Lela was your mother, Tanda Samlo Town, and she Munakora knew when you did to any, to look to a show. The day you are liar, and because of the Sanja Kumato, Sanja Kumata Chanjus, I don't need to be sharing your letter. Sana, Jona, Nana, Netan Kadesha in a taking a Chanjus, I don't need to be sharing again, to get to a chicken, the general Lama Shaja Singa Jingle out to Komacha, what is it?
And then seeing myself as a fully enlightened being and also as empty of any inherent existence, I send out light rays from my own heart center, equal in number to all of the sentient beings in all the six realms of existence. And upon dissolving into them, they spontaneously arise as fully enlightened beings. Also, the places that they are in are purified of all fault, and they become the pure realms of enlightened beings. Again, I completely rejoice in what I have experienced. Know that the actual leading of all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment, the virtue that has facilitated that, and myself as the agent of that virtue, are completely empty of any inherent existence. This produces a sense of bliss, combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. I know that I'm acting at the level of imagination and aspiration here. There's no way this is can be made manifest this easily. Yet, when I am dedicating, I am very sincere in being able to dedicate that. I will try to make it manifest as quickly as I possibly can. I know that essential to that purpose is the generation of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness to its perfection. And therefore, I must use every possible situation to see it, whether it's a positive or a negative or a neutral situation, but simply and immediately to see it as a conducive condition for furthering my love, my compassion, my mind of enlightenment, and my wisdom realizing emptiness. Oh, Guru Deity, please bless me to make this so. Lai ma san
Do I cheer ma liu sa
go
Parai sho chan jo sem jo liang bo ai kia ban gen yu lo xia kia ban
Nyam pa me pa go war show doni da po
ma
ma ke panam ke nyam pa me pa yang gong ne gong du pel war show Rave Galway Shin Cam de Pendang de Wa Tenre Sig Wong Ting Ting Gatso Yi Shape Si Te Ba Du Teng Yu Chi Me Te We Ter Ten Chen Me Sig Me Kem Pe Wang Ho Jam Pel Yang Gang Chen Kem Pe Tzu Ken Song Kapam Lo Sang Rai Pe Sha Lo So De me te we ter ten chen sing me kem pe wong ho jam pel yang gang chen kem pe tu ken song ka pa lo sang rai pe sha lo so de me we te chen chen sing me kem pe wong ho jam pel yang You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losing Drakpa, at your feet make requests.
Yeah, not touch it, cut it, and not touch it, cut it, and
Thank
what's
you.
yet to go, to search a two law.
Ah,
Not two, Nikita says, 2 years to just